Good morning. Good morning. I'm Faith Harris, and my pronouns are she, her, hers, and I serve on your board of directors. And thank you for being here this morning and welcome. We welcome you whether you are a longtime member passing through Richmond today or joining us on YouTube. This church has been gathering together to make peace since 1833. And today we hope you will find the stimulation for your mind, encouragement for your hearts, and comfort from the violence of our world. This statement is true. Peace begins with each of us. Peace begins with me and you. Kindly silence your phones.
Good morning. I am Reverend Amy Russell, she, her, one of your assistant ministers here at First UU. I'm so glad to see all of you here in this nice, cool place out of the heat, and all of you at home, welcome. We are so glad today to welcome our choir, New Beginnings. Thank you for being here with us today. And I'm so glad that we have today Beth Mixovic, who's going to act as worship associate. And our song leaders are, want to raise your hand because I don't know, Bari and Judith. And Darlene, thank you for being here. So if you are here for the first time or the second time, and we'd love to know who you are, so if you would raise your hand and stand and tell us who you are, Beth Tolley is going to come along with the mic if we have any visitors.
All right. My name is Lauren, and this is my husband, Scott, and we are visiting my sister, Allison, who has been in Richmond for a while now, and this is one of our first visits, so we're happy to be here and excited to be part of this community for the day.
Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Garrett Bernal. I live on the far west end. I'm a dad of 3 little boys part-time, and first time, glad to be here.
Welcome.
Anybody else?
Aha.
I would like, oh, great. Go ahead.
I am Rev Anna Tulu. I am your new assistant minister.
Yay!
And I am attending worship for the first time this morning with my partner Eric and 2 of our children, Oscar and Leo, who are in RE.
Welcome, Anna and Eric.
And I'm Beth Tolley, a member, and I brought my sister today. This is Janie. She came from Kentucky to visit.
Welcome. Anyone else? No? Okay. If you want to take a minute to say hello to your neighbor. I know, we all want to greet all of our friends. It's so great to see everyone. And let's get started for worship today. So this morning, I want to remind you of a person that you may or may not have heard of, a quote. The quote is this: "We're all just bozos on the bus. Get aboard." You remember Wavy Gravy? Some of us who were been around for a while remember this clown who was actually at Woodstock, and that's where he got his fame. But he reminds us that we all have cracks. We all have things that maybe we're not so proud of, but that we can let it all hang out and just be ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
The chalice lighting today is by Pema Chodron. We think that the point is to pass the test or overcome the problem, but the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Then they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, room for relief, for misery, for joy. And now if you will stand as you are able for our opening hymn, Just as Long as I Have Breath. It's the gray hymn book number 6, if you like the words on the page. And now the reading, which is an excerpt for Broken Open by Elizabeth Lesser. In Elizabeth Lesser's book, Broken Open, she describes her parenting style after her divorce when she was overwhelmed with being a single parent and allowed her kids free rein to take over the living room and play a game they called slam ball, which was a cross between squash and professional wrestling. She remembers how she felt about her life at this point. She just wanted to feel normal again. And now the excerpt. But who was I fooling? My life was not normal. Things were seriously out of order. I was divorced. My kids went back and forth between my house and their father's. This was not the way things were supposed to be. During the divorce, I had hung on Carl Jung's words that nothing has a more disturbing influence psychologically on children than the unlived life of the parent. That sounded right to me. I hoped the divorce could bestow on the boys the gift of parents with full and happy lives. But now I was so racked with guilt that I was unable to really believe anything. I sat there, letting these cold facts chill my heart as the fire warmed my face. In the stillness, with nothing to distract me, an all too familiar feeling of despair descended and hijacked my heart. But instead of getting up, washing the dishes, or calling a friend, I let myself sink into the thick soup of shame and sadness. Tears pooled in my eyes and fell down my cheeks. How long do I have to feel like this? I asked the flames. How long does it take to get back to normal? As the fire cracked and I cried and sipped my wine, I remembered a funny thing someone had recently said to me, and I said it aloud. Normal is someone you don't know very well. And then, staring at the flames, I laughed, and I threw up my hands and announced, I give up. I'm not normal. I'll never be normal again. Was it the wine, the flames? I don't know. But in the moment I sensed it was time to let normal die. I saw clearly how some of my free-willing mothering style came from a respect for the natural spunkiness of children. I liked that part of the way I mothered. I decided to hold on to that part. But some of my leniency came from guilt over the divorce and from my mistaken notion that normal homes were always happy homes. It was time to let that part go. May I toss my yearning for normal into the flames? I asked the phoenix in the fire. Will you burn it to bits and show me a new way? I thought of my boys asleep upstairs, of Jonah at his house at the end of the road, of children everywhere in all kinds of families. And I said a prayer to the phoenix, to the goddesses and gods of all parents, to whoever was listening. Please help us to raise our children with grace and wisdom and pleasure. Please remind us that our kids are just goofy little humans, junior bozos on the bus, who will not, under any circumstances, always be happy no matter how hard we try. Please watch over all of us sleeping and waking in this imperfect world. After my prayer, I thought I heard the furniture heave a sigh of gratitude, sensing that the days of slam balls and backpacks and wet shoes were over. I patted the couch and assured it that although it would never enjoy the prim isolation of couches in childless homes, I was ready to set some limits. Then I went upstairs to bed and fell into a hopeful sleep, certain that in the morning, something good would arise from the ashes. And now, share the plate.
Good morning. I'm Doug Jones, proud to be a long-term member of this church. And for those of you who were here last week, you'll notice that I'm not clever enough to write a new introduction for 4 weeks in a row, so you've probably heard some of this before. I'm immensely proud to be in my third year on the board of Housing Families First, our Share the Plate recipient this month. And as you may have heard last month, there's a long connection between Housing Families First and First UU, as our beloved Graham Driver, who passed away a few years ago, was on the board long before I was. Housing is a complicated issue, and due to the complex government funding rules and regulations, organizations fighting homelessness often must employ a multi-pronged approach to this work. Housing Families First does this with a newly renovated shelter location in Eastern Henrico, and also with a number of outstanding programs throughout the Richmond region designed to help families from becoming homeless in the first place. It is my pleasure to introduce Jasmine Sneed, the Community Engagement and Communications Manager for Housing Families First.
Good morning. How are y'all? Thanks for having me. I just wanted to stop by today. I know that our executive director was here last week, but I just want to echo what Doug was saying in regards to Housing Families First and us being a shelter in the Eastern Henrico part of town. Outside of that, we have so many programs that we're assisting families that are experiencing homelessness all across the region. And so I didn't introduce myself during the visitor portion of the program because I wanted to save my momentum for right now. And as Doug said, I handle communications and community engagement for Housing Families First. And what that means is exactly what I'm doing right now, is letting everybody know how you can engage with Housing Families First and what that means and what that looks like. And so first off, we have an 11-room shelter where we are housing up to 11 families, 40 residents at any given time. And as they're coming in, they need things. We set their rooms with brand new bedding, all their toiletries and cleaning items. And so those are ways that you can assist us, as well as when they are ready to move into their homes, as we have worked with them for many months or days to get them into permanent housing. Once they are moving into their house, they're needing those same things. They're needing cookware, houseware, anything that you can think of if you're moving into a new place or moving your children into their college dorm. And so those things happen through donation drives with communities like you. I have a list of frequently needed items that either you can break it up and you can say, hey, we're just going to do a blanket drive, and I will gladly and graciously accept all the blankets that you bring me as long as they're new and unused, because we are trying to keep the mantra for our families that they are deserving of new and quality things. And so we do understand that you do spring cleaning, but unfortunately, we do not want your old pillows or anything like that, just because we really want them to have fresh and new things. But outside of a donation drive, there's ways for you to come to our shelter and engage. We have an evening supper program where the community cooks food or orders food and brings it over to the shelter, and you're able to serve our families, or you can drop it off, whatever you're most comfortable with. Outside of that, we have a breakfast and snack bag program. I see that being a hit amongst like youth ministries, school-age children, because it's a learning moment for them. Some of their parents are giving them a budget to go purchase all these snack items, and so then they get to put these bags together and write little motivational notes for the kids and families in shelter, and then they come and drop them off, and we give those to the families throughout the day. It's the summertime, and you know the children are out of school, and they are eating us out of a house and a home. So, you know, the same thing happens at our shelter that happens in your home. Another thing is that we welcome individual volunteers as well as group volunteers. So individual volunteers can come and sit at our front desk and be a warm welcome to people that are coming to visit Housing Families First, or you can come as a group and help me do many things around the shelter, whether that's tidying up, organizing. Sometimes we need our shelter rooms flipped over so that we can invite a new family to come over. But there's so many ways that you can engage with what it is that we do on site as well as in the community that really assists these families. I tell everybody we do housing very well. We're able to connect those dots to get people into housing, but just like anybody, and just from the excerpts and everything that I've heard this morning, we all need a little assistance along the way at some point. And we may be very blessed right now to have all the things, but anything can happen to any of us where something is turned over and we need a little assistance, whether that's just a motivational speak, a hug, or financial assistance. So however you would like to engage with Housing Families First, I will graciously accept what you want to bring or what you want to discuss. I'll be around so that we can talk about certain things. But once again, Jasmine Sneed, you can call me Jayonce if you want to, but Jasmine Sneed with Housing Families First. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jayonce. Very soon on the screen, you will see ways to give, and we are now going to take our morning offering. The information on the screen will direct you how to give electronically. If that is your preference, the ushers will pass the baskets here in the Great Hall. Thank you for giving generously.
I will
Let us take a moment of peaceful meditation together. Sitting comfortably in your seats, centering yourselves, closing your eyes if you wish. Let's take in a deep breath. Let it out. Let's rest together in peaceful silence, breathing in and breathing out. Spirit of community, in which we share and find strength and common purpose. We turn our minds and our hearts toward one another, seeking to bring into our circle of care all those who need our love and our support. We pray today for all of those whose lives are touched by gun violence. May we work towards an end of senseless gun violence, remembering the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who taught us, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, and hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." We send out our love and our support to all those lives who are torn apart by war and conflict and hunger. We send out prayers to those in Sudan, Ukraine, Gaza, Ethiopia, and Israel. May we work towards the spreading of peace, starting from within and going out into the world. Our prayers go out to those who face illness, homelessness, or loneliness. May we work towards bringing together communities centered in love and support. And may we all learn to accept our failings along with our strengths as a part of our wholeness, or our whole, beautiful, and human lives. Amen, and blessed be. So how many of you have ever thrown a pot? Now, I don't mean throwing it at someone. I mean creating a pot out of clay. How many of you done that? Good. I know a lot of you have done the other as well. So this past week, I experienced my first lesson in wheel throwing from Joan Lewis. This was an auction service event project that I purchased from the service auction, and I was so glad to be able to do this. It was wonderful. But this wasn't exactly my first time. I tried this 50 years ago, but I'll have to tell you that I do not remember a lot. The memory of that feeling of having the clay beneath your fingers and trying to shape it into what you want, it's a lot harder than it looks on those videos, I'll tell you. The first task in pot throwing is to center your clay. And the centrifugal force of this wheel going around and around makes it very clear when that clay is off kilter and it's going like this instead of like that. You can feel the clay as it goes around and around between your hands when it's just not quite right, when it's discombobulated. We are often discombobulated in our lives. Sometimes we don't feel in center. Centering clay by using our hands, as hard as it is probably a lot easier than getting our lives centered sometimes. And when we're feeling that way, it's sometimes not something we want other people to know about. So when we're asked, we're saying, we're fine. And when someone notices that we're not smiling and laughing as usual, you might say, oh, nothing to worry about. We may be saying that because we don't want our cracks to show. Making ourselves vulnerable by admitting our discomfort, our sadness, our failings often seems more difficult than the discomfort itself. The fear of others knowing our failures or our lack of self-confidence is probably the most human thing about us. Now, I know most of you have heard about Brené Brown's research into the topic of vulnerability. You may remember that she teaches that showing your vulnerability is scary, but it's not weakness, she says. It's courage. She teaches us that it takes courage to share our vulnerability. Brown says that it's risky to expose our underbelly or our most vulnerable selves to others, so mostly we learn to hide it. When we feel we've made a mistake or failed at something, it's often a time when we want to hide that from others. We're feeling discombobulated because maybe we're out of our comfort zone, or we're feeling like we're exposing ourselves too much, or we find other ways to disguise our feelings. So how many of us have found yourself doing that? Just generally maybe hiding something from others that we're just not proud of. A failed marriage, a broken relationship, a job we ended up leaving because it just didn't work out, or even an illness that we just didn't want to share, or maybe an abortion. I'll have to own up to that one. A year ago, when the Dobbs decision came down, we had a very meaningful and moving vigil here. And at that time, I felt ready to share something I had never shared with others, that I had had an abortion. And that was a moment for me because after I shared it, rather than feeling shame, I found that I could connect with others who had had the same experience in a deeply meaningful way. I felt empathy and connection instead of shame. Brené Brown studies shame as well. She talks about the difference between shame and guilt. So shame is a feeling that we have when we want to hide what we've done. But guilt is a feeling when we own up to our mistakes and we own them and we work towards changing them. Guilt is the feeling of having made a mistake but moving forward. And she found that in research that shows that holding on to shame correlates with depression, attempted suicide, alcoholism, and mental illness. Shame is associated with secrecy, silence, and judgment. But when we learn to share something that we feel is shameful and others listen to us with empathy, then our shame is transformed. We learn to live with guilt, owning our mistakes, and changing our lives because of them. But shame can kill our self-regard, kill the fact that we can love ourselves better. Shame is epidemic, Brené Brown says, in our culture. So another unhealthy part of our culture that we'll identify with is perfectionism. We see in our social media feed every day people who look like they're living these perfect lives. They're on these cruise ships. They have these happy families around them. They're perfectly healthy and they wear beautiful clothes. And all of us think, why can't I be like that? And you realize after a while that, of course, that may be one moment in that person's life, but they're not necessarily posting that moment when they got up with bad hair in the morning, or their clothes were not the best, or they're having a disagreement with their spouse. All of those things, of course, we don't want to post that on Facebook, but we need to remember that that's a part of all of our lives, and it's a part of our humanity. So Rachel Naomi Raymond, a psychologist, psychotherapist, and author, describes her father as the person who taught her perfectionism. She says, "I'm a recovering perfectionist. Before I began recovering, I experienced that I and everyone else was always falling short, that who we were and what we did was never quite good enough. I sat in judgment on life itself. Perfectionism is the belief that life is broken." She describes a time in her life when she was in a new romantic relationship. But she also was in a new city and she had to get a new driver's license. So she was studying for her driver's license test. And as she always did, she wished she could get a perfect score. So she studied harder. She told the new boyfriend, "I'm sorry, I just don't have time to see you right now because I've got to work on this, getting this perfect score." So she went, took the test. She got a perfect score. And when she went to tell this new romantic person in her life about this perfect score, he said, "Well, that's very nice. I'm glad you got it. But why is that important? What's more important in your life right now, that score or me?" She realized it was her own need for perfection that was getting in the way. So how do you meet your own high expectations without needing perfection? How do we know when we are enough? So as Unitarian Universalists, we do not believe in original sin. We don't have to carry around that business, thank God. But we do believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every individual. But we also have extremely high expectations for how we build that worth and dignity and how we see ourselves. We expect ourselves to not only do our best for our family, our responsibilities at work, our church, but we also expect that we do service in our community and show up as a good citizen to voice what we see as justice. Sometimes what we forget to do our best for ourselves. We are our own best friends, or we should be. When we start to listen to what we need in our inner hearts, and we start to open up about what our true needs are, that's when we can be better friends to ourselves. Being open and vulnerable might allow us to tend to our own inner needs. In our reading today, Elizabeth Lesser talks about feeling shame about her parenting style after her divorce. She felt shameful about the divorce itself and what impact it might have on her kids. She begins to understand that she feels that her divorce may have been damaging to her kids, and so she adopts this very lax style to sort of make it up to her kids. She wonders, when will she ever feel normal again? I can't tell you how many people ask me this when they're going through a difficult time in their lives. When am I ever going to feel normal again? Maybe we think everyone else is living this normal life, but somehow we just haven't been able to make that. Normal is someone you don't know very well, Lesser reminds us. She realizes that given who she is, she will never be normal. She says a prayer that asks that she can give up this quest for being normal and just have the grace and the wisdom to raise her kids to just be okay. That's enough. She asks to be reminded that her kids cannot always be happy and well-adjusted, but that they will know that they're loved, and that's enough. She begins to accept the difficulties she finds in her life and the way she deals with them just to make herself who she is, not normal. So chasing normal, we all do this. Sometimes it leads us to try to take on styles and imitations of other people's lives. So I remember a time in my life when I was young and started my first career in a corporation. And I was very nervous and very feeling not myself. So I sort of remember, getting my first little navy blue suit that I put on and looking the part and carrying my little briefcase and going into work and trying to sort of fit in with the others. So one of the things in this corporation that you began to realize was that when you became a manager, and I did in a few years, that people, after 5 o'clock, people who were not in management left and went about their lives. But people in management stayed till 6 o'clock, whether they had anything to do or not. So I began to walk around and watch what people were doing. They're playing games on their computers and so forth. And I realized that staying and fitting in wasn't for me. I had to pick up kids from daycare. The other thing that we realized was that on Wednesday afternoons, the managers would just disappear. The male managers, that is. And the 2 women managers and I realized, where are they? They're on the golf course. So we strode out in our little golf clubs and tried to learn to play golf. And it was a wonderful way to walk and get exercise, but I tell you, I really couldn't get that ball into that little hole. Gave that up. Fitting in and being normal in a corporate life just wasn't for me. Later, I left and went to seminary. Now, I don't recommend this. Don't try that at home. It's not a very good solution. There were many things I gained from that career, despite the ways that I felt I didn't fit in. After many years of trying to fit into that normal career, I finally left and gone to seminary. Finding myself was much easier there. I know Unitarian Universalists will proudly tell you that they don't care about being normal or average or anything middle of the road. But despite that, we might carry some inner shame that we want to hide. Accepting that we're not perfect, that we're just not normal, and that we can learn to openly share our mistakes and failures with others might help us lessen the anxiety we have about being okay. Rumi reminds us to learn the alchemy true human beings know. The moment you accept what troubles you've been given, doors will open. Mindfulness is a spiritual practice that suggests that we learn to accept whatever is going on in our lives. Practicing this acceptance, however, is a lifelong journey. Accepting those things that may feel shameful but are just a part of our lives is a door to being free. Free of constant worry that we're not good enough. Free of someone will find out that we're just not right. Freedom to be just who we are, cracks and all. Mindfulness meditation is sometimes called unconditional friendliness. Elizabeth Lesser says that meditation is a practice of unconditional friendliness toward whatever is happening in the moment during which we sit in meditation, and all those other moments in life, whether things are going well or whether they're falling apart. So this practice, and it's a practice, an everyday, every moment practice of showing ourselves and allowing whatever we're feeling, whatever is going on in our lives. It's the hardest part, I think, of Buddhist practice. It means being really okay with yourself and sharing yourself with others fully and honestly. It means accepting whatever mistakes and failings we have, owning them, taking responsibility for doing better, and then accepting it just the way it is. Albert Einstein used to say, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's just stupid. Sometimes we judge ourselves by comparing ourselves to others. The other person might be able to do math better. Certainly almost anyone can do that better than me. Might be better at socializing, might be better at writing. But we have our own gifts to feel proud of. We don't have to be the way someone else is. Then when we've begun to understand who we are, what our own inner gifts are, what we want in our life, focusing on this inner discernment, then we can begin to create the image of the life we believe we want in order to have a more meaningful life. We begin to mold the clay, making the shape of our life that we want. When you watch a potter throw a pot and you watch this formless lump of clay begin to take the shape of a bowl, it's amazing. And then the potter moves their fingers slightly and the bowl has a base, and moves the fingers slightly. I have to look at Joan while I'm doing this, and move them slightly like this, and all of a sudden you go up and you have a lip. It's amazing to me. It's just, don't you wish life was like that? You could just go, and all of a sudden your life would be like that. But it is sort of like that. You know, slight movements that we make, making our lives a different shape. But not ever perfect, because some pots turn out with really interesting imperfections, as well as our lives do. That's what makes us unique. When we need to set realistic expectations and forgive ourselves for our imperfections, because that's what makes us human and beautifully original. Amen.
chalice extinguishing is by Rumi. Learn the alchemy true human beings know. The moment you accept what troubles you've been given, the door will open.
Please stand as we say our closing words and sing our closing hymn. Our words come from Thich Nhat Hanh. Let us be at peace with our minds and our bodies. Let us return to ourselves and become holy ourselves, letting our cracks show beautiful and whole. We will sing together our closing hymn, which is 1011. No? What is our closing hymn? 1007. And the name of it is There's a River Flowing in My Soul. Sorry.
Thank